Hello, everybody. Welcome to BIMS TV. I'm Rose Santana, and this is BIMS Bites. And today I'll be biting into harmful algal blooms. So, harmful algal blooms are the result of excess nutrients like phosphorus and nitrogen entering our aquatic ecosystems. So, some of the sources that can produce these excess nutrients include industrial industries, agricultural industries from, excess fertilizer, pesticides, algicides, fungicides, and urban activities, as well as leaking septic tanks from homes or other sewage spills. Now, these things, coupled with other factors such as temperature and salinity, can cause rapid blooms. So, when we're talking about algal blooms, the two sort of main algal blooms that we'll see a lot of, especially in the media, are red tide, which are caused by a unicellular algae such as dinoflagellates and diatoms. These typically happen in our saltwater bodies because they don't thrive in freshwater. But an issue is that they can produce natural toxins such as brevetoxins that are toxic to both marine life and human health. And don't be fooled. Yes, they're called red tides, and sometimes it can look like this, but they can also be brown and look a little bit more like this over here. So just because something doesn't look red or seem like red tide right away, you should still be cautious when approaching. Another very popular or very common type of algal bloom that we'll see is blue-green algal blooms. Now, in freshwater bodies such as our lakes and rivers, the majority of harmful algal blooms are caused by cyanobacteria. These can also produce toxins and poisons that can make people and animals sick, as well as affect the environment, especially drinking water. Now, typically, algae and cyanobacteria can grow rapidly out of control or bloom, hence harmful algal blooms, when water is warm, slow moving, and full of nutrients. That's the perfect trifecta for causing harmful algal blooms in our freshwater systems. And, just me, I probably wouldn't have let my dog into that body of water, but, hey, that's a story for later on. Now, we know what they are and how they happen, but what are the consequences for this? I'm glad you asked. A major consequence for this is the creation of something called a dead zone. A dead zone typically occurs when there's excess nutrient runoff that goes into the water. It'll cause the algae to grow near the surface, and all of this algae, as well as the dead algae that starts sinking to the bottom, is going to consume all of the oxygen within a certain area. Now, when the oxygen levels drop, it creates something known as a hypoxic environment. And some marine life, if they're fast enough to realize, oh shoot, something doesn't feel right, they will leave the area. But some marine life is too slow, or it happens so quickly that the marine life ends up dying and floating to the top, which is how we see some of these fish kills that we've been seeing all throughout the world. Now, make no mistake, these fish kills include fish, marine mammals, birds, sharks, turtles, any of these animals can and have been affected by it. But our marine animals aren't the only ones that are causing or that are facing the consequences of these. It can affect human health, especially those with respiratory issues. And a big issue is that a lot of these particles can travel with the wind. So even though there might not necessarily be an algal bloom happening directly within your area, with the wind, it can still travel and cause health issues for people with respiratory issues. It hurts industry dependent on aquatic ecosystems such as tourism and fisheries because A, you don't want to fish that are in these environments, and B, you don't want to be in these environments yourself. I know here in Florida, whenever we have a red tide outbreak, it's catastrophic for our fisheries and our tourism industries because people typically want to come here to view our amazing wildlife and our great beaches. And when our beaches are covered with sludge and dead animals everywhere, nobody wants to be here. But it's also detrimental for us from an economical perspective because it has a high economical cost because it raises the treatment costs for drinking water in our freshwater bodies. So not great. Now, it's all gloom and doom. What do you do? Well, I'm glad you asked. Always, always, always check swimming and fishing advisories. If there is an outbreak happening near you, chances are that someone will have reported it and there are fishing advisories or swimming advisories. What happens if you go out and there isn't an advisory? Always make sure to keep your eyes out on your bodies of water. Familiarize yourself with them and know what they're supposed to look like so you can spot when something's not right. For example, if you see something like this, something ain't right. Toxic algal mats may be present in water, and oftentimes you'll see little signs like these ones down here. If it smells bad, if the water looks discolored, if there's foam or weird scum mats on the top of the surface, or if there's dead fish washing up around it or on the shore, or even fish behaving erratically, I recommend you don't go into this water just because there could be something happening in there that can be detrimental to your human health or, your children and your pets. Don't let them in either. Either way, the best way to stay ahead of this is to always maintain informed. And also check to see if you have any organizations, whether those are governmental or nonprofit, where you can report these things to. For example, in Miami, we have Miami Water Keepers, Thousand Eyes on the Water. That way, if you see something, you can report it and warn others about it. As always, feel free to contact me with any questions on any of my social media handles or by email. And as always, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please follow, like, and subscribe.